Welcome to Marketplace with Charles, where dreams are turned into reality. I am glad that you have joined us today, and I know your life will never be the same. Our main aim, our main objective here is to fight and eradicate poverty by creating kingdom billionaires. I hope you will be inspired today. Well, Marketplace is supported and anchored by Art of Skincare. Art of Skincare, bringing out the beauty in you, as well as Kuisa Lodge, situated at the heart of Mabalingwe Nature Reserve. You will love to be there and enjoy the tranquility that comes with nature of Mabalingwe. On Marketplace, we empower and equip you with the tools that you need to achieve your entrepreneurial dreams. Each week will bring you insights from experts in different fields of business, from men and women of faith. I am Charles Ngobeni. Today we meet an engineer in his own right, trained and developed under the German skillful eyes. You know the Germans are great when it comes to engineering. My guest will discuss an invention that will make you understand that there is more to the human brain than just to retain information. The human brain is a bedrock of incalculable wealth that is yet to be discovered by those who dare to tap onto it. There is much more than you can ever think of within your brain. For centuries, inventions have been the bread and the butter for the selected few who were considered exceptionally intelligent. Those people made billions out of their inventions, and their abilities have always been viewed as unattainable. Well, to say a little, that is a myth. If they have attained it, so you can too as well. My guest is here today to help demystify that myth and show you that there is hope for the hopeless. There is a possible you within you. All you have to do, we just have to unearth this possible you. You may have dreamed of bringing some product into existence and then disqualified yourself on the basis of unqualified reasons. Thembinkosi will help me to unpack this today. Welcome to Marketplace with Charles.
Thank you very much, Charles, for having me, and greetings to the viewers. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to come and talk about business, faith, hard work, smart work as well. And hopefully we can unpack all of these ideas and ideologies, and hopefully one man, young men and young women out there will be inspired. Thank you for having me again.
I am more grateful to have you.
Thank you.
You know, I like the way you said it. Hard work and smart work. You know, most of the people, they'll tell you that you work smart and not hard.
If you have to understand where that concept comes from, I believe, from what we read from the Bible, God himself started off being a hard worker, and later he became a smart worker.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me, let's unpack Thembinkosi. Who is Thembinkosi?
Thembinkosi Masinga is a boy that was born north of KZN in a small area called Ingwavuma. I can walk to Swaziland, and it's also closer to Mozambique. So we really are in the corner of KZN. And I grew up there under extreme poverty. At the age of 7, I had to figure out what to eat for dinner and so forth. I only started wearing shoes when I was probably 13. Poverty was a bread and butter and daily realities. So that's Thembinkosi in a long and short. And of course, by God's grace and hard work, I've come to be where I am through nothing else but by grace of God.
In my introduction, I said you're an engineer.
Yeah.
In your own right.
That's right.
Tell us more about that.
First of all, where I grew up in Ngwavuma, in Ngwavuma High School in particular, in the early 90s, when they said they have a science subject, they meant maths and agriculture.
Yeah.
Because they were preparing a student for working in the agricultural fields. So therefore, if you say I want to come or work in the engineering field, they will prepare you both maths and agriculture. Therefore, I told my mother that I still want to pursue engineering. For me, what was important was to discover talent, because often people want to pursue career before talent. It is very, very much important that as parents, you help your children to discover what is their talent, because through talent, then you are able to discover what is your career of choice. So in my field, I was able to discover, because I could fix stoves, I made my own bikes, I was able to work in the garden, and through all of these engineering activities, I was able to make my own jack, probably 2 ton worth of a rock. When I was building a house for my mother in the early days, there was a huge rock in the center of the yard, and therefore I had to come up with a solution how to remove this rock. You probably needed maybe 20 men to remove this, but I had to make my own mechanism that was able to remove the rock from the ground. So in the early days, I was able to tap into my talent. That was a talent. And that then propelled me to realize that I want to become an engineer. Even despite the challenges that being an engineer needed you to be a scientist or to study a science, which was not presented in my high school, I then told my mother that I need to go to a high school that will give me an opportunity to study maths and science.
Yeah. So you studied engineering, am I correct?
That's correct. So I studied in Zebugeni High School, where I graduated in 95. In 96, I then ventured into Mangosuthu. I normally tell people that faith is so critical. My mother was so poor. We were 6 at home, and therefore she didn't have money to send me to school.
But you managed to pay attention.
Absolutely. Through somebody who just knew me and saw my result, they said, go to school, go and they will probably help you there through career counseling. And so I had 100 rand in my left pocket, and I had faith in my right pocket. So 100 rand produced the engineer that you see today, through faith, of course.
That's an awesome testimony.
Thank you.
Some of the people, when they have got talent, they have got gifts, they don't even think of studying.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is correct, especially when you look at the pastors today.
Yeah.
We have got pastors who are talented, who are gifted.
Yes, sir.
And believe you me, God has called them.
Yes.
But if God calls you, I want to believe you still have to undergo the formal training.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, we mess up with this gospel.
Absolutely.
If you're a nurse and you're called, you go for training.
Absolutely.
If you're a policeman, you're called, you go for training.
Absolutely.
If you're a doctor, you are called, you go for training.
Absolutely.
But as pastors, we are called, we don't even go for training.
Absolutely. I believe in 2 streams of knowledge, as well as, you have to gather information, convert it into knowledge, and then you become wise. There are 2 ways of achieving wisdom. One is through formal education, or you'll call it educated.
Yes.
Some will go to the high level of being either PhD doctors or professors. But there are other streams, which is what I call being a learned. Learned is self-discovery, information that comes through your own research. I'm an engineer in terms of my qualification in probably 4 streams. But I believe in being learned. And I think that is what today that propels me most. Being learned, researching. Maybe some other times I will tell you more about the research that I've done, even the biblical research that really dates back to 2,000, over 2,000 years. But that's something else. But I think it is very, very much important also to discover pioneers like Africanus, which has given birth to Africa, for instance. And you'll know when you do your research that Africa has always been at the forefront of research.
Yeah.
It is only that we have really not marketed ourselves that much or taken ourselves that much serious, you know. So, but otherwise, it is very much important to both. You know, the Bible say, study yourself. I mean, study to show yourself approved.
Yes, yes.
So it's very much important to study, but also be learned on the other hand.
Africa has got a wealth, you know, of information.
Yeah.
For that matter, you look at the, when you study mathematics, trigonometry,
Yeah,
it started from Egypt.
absolutely.
You know, if you look at the pyramids,
Yeah,
you know, that is trigonometry.
Absolutely.
Even before the trigonometric book
yeah,
was invented, that led into the calculator today.
Yeah.
When you look at the sine, the cos, and the quotient, and all those things, they come from the pyramids of Egypt.
yeah.
You know, and we can't dispute that they've been there for years and years and years. But as you rightly said, we haven't marketed it that well. Now, let's talk about your business.
Thank you.
What do you do in your business?
Kingdom Power is a group of companies. We have got 3 divisions,
Yes.
namely engineering, which is responsible for manufacturing engineering products such as AirFlush, which I'll expand on it later. We also have Kingdom Power Property, wherein we acquire properties, we rent them out. One is in Midrand, where we rent it out to B&B. We also have got a property in Zimbabwe in a 5-star establishment, where it's a holiday home, high-class holiday home, when people need to go to Durban. Now they know they can either play golf or be in the swimming pool or have their own 2 private beach that you can actually enjoy with your family. You know, so I normally tell people that are booking our property in Zimbabwe that you need about 2 weeks to thoroughly enjoy what it has to offer. So, and then we've got also Kingdom Donor. This was born out of a question that was asked by a sister back, it must have been in early 2000, when, in fact 2007 thereabout, when the then Minister of Finance was asked a question. The sister asked a question as to, I give offering to the church, but I get tax. I get taxed on these givings that I've made.
Yes.
And therefore, shouldn't the government make a provision for believers who give for the good cause, so that their giving is tax deductible? So Kingdom Donor was born out of that question. The minister at the time did not really give much attention to this question. But we did our research later on. Yeah. Therefore, today, if any establishment, whether it is a church or NGO or NPO, people that are giving, you know, there's a saying, as poor as the church mouse. We need to change around that. Giving must be for the benefit of believers or anybody that wants to give to the good cause. Kingdom Donor has an app that will address that. For instance, some churches will have business people that want to give through business, but SARS or taxmen want you to account for every business or every cent.
Yes.
Kingdom Donor will address that. Every donation that you make now can have a tax certificate or what is called a DNA certificate, so that people can be encouraged to give more to the work of the kingdom or any good cause for that matter.
We have to change the saying. I say as rich as a church mouse.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there is so much resources in the house of God.
Yeah.
And by the way, the church has been central even in the liberation and the freedom of South Africa. So we need to really give credit to the work of the church, starting in the early days in 1910 or early days, how the missionaries contributed all the way until Chief Albert Luthuli, Oliver Tambo, some of those men who are saying, if it was not for the politics, we would have been priests or ministers of the gospel. But because we are under pressure, therefore we need to give to the nation, and therefore they ended up in politics. There is a lot of work that still need to go in that route to recognize the work that the church in generally provide for the kingdom.
Let's talk about your invention, the AirFlush.
Yeah.
What is an AirFlush?
First of all, just to give you a little bit of a background about Kingdom Power, it's a business really that started in the early 2004 in particular, when I was still working for Spornet at the time, or Transnet Rail, Freight Rail in today's terms. I always had a vision and a dream that I want to start my own business. And therefore, I just registered a small CC at the time, and I started with my own. I am gifted in terms of innovation. I started, for instance, with Masinga cycle. It's a bicycle that you cycle not only with your feet, but also with your hands.
Okay.
Because I discovered that at the time that if you can cycle with your hands and feet, you can produce more power. So I then invented that bicycle. The other invention at the time was a techno jack. It's a jack that you use, a cigarette lighter in your car to lift up your vehicle in case you have got a flat tire. So and those are, and also techno safe is a safe that can transmit, for instance, a signal in case there's a heist. It was motivated by the heists that are happening. So those are inventions that I did in the early days. But I realized at the time that to develop a product from a mock-up to a prototype to a commercial product, it requires millions, if not billions. And therefore, in 2011, God said, "What do you have in your hands?" You know the scripture that says, "What do you have in your hand?"
That was to Moses.
Absolutely.
Yes. And he thought he had a stick, and yet he had more than a stick.
He had more than a stick. So that question for me, it was more like, okay, what do you have in your hands? And the answer to that is, what is my experience?
Yes, yes.
As much as I'm innovative, I like to produce something new, but God said, but you have experience in the railways. You've got networks in the railways. Therefore, maybe shouldn't you consider for now, before diversifying into other products, consider working on what you know and what you have got the networks in. And therefore, I started focusing on the railways. And there was a need at the time to really develop a toilet that can be used for the railway industry, which is a closed system, basically, yes.
What is that? And how does it work?
So basically, just to come back in your introduction, you spoke about our partnership with the Germans. There was a need from the government legislation to say, remember, long-distance trains for the past 40 years or so have had open toilets. If you are in the toilet in the train or in the coach going to Durban or to Cape Town, you'll see a small sticker here that says, "Don't use the toilet in the station."
Yes,
and the simple reason for that, it is because the waste was going straight to the track. So you can imagine if the train pulls off with 20 coaches and there's so much waste that is remaining in the train, in the station. And therefore, that was the reason. So for the past 40 years, railways have used an open toilet system that goes to the track. And therefore, government through a railway safety regulator decided that all the new installations must be a closed system. That's gave birth to the need to basically introduce a closed system. And we have, when I used to work for a German company, I established a lot of contacts in Europe, in Asia, which then made it easy for me to create, to use those contacts that I've created over the years.
The mess in an AirFlush, where does it end up?
That's a very good question. AirFlush ideally is a toilet that flushes with air. Yeah. We will not claim that we are first to produce a toilet that flushes with air. The technology has existed for over 80 years in the aerospace industry. The reason for that is because when you are on air in the aeroplane, you don't have enough water.
Yes.
Neither do you have enough container to contain your waste. And therefore, you needed to use a toilet that uses as minimal water as possible. That gave birth to what is called today a vacuum toilet. In the railway industry, it has existed for over 50 years, especially in Europe and the US, where environmental consideration had been higher than, for instance, in Africa. And therefore, what we have done in South Africa as Kingdom Power is to say, but this is a very good technology. Why is it that we don't see it in your house, in hotels, in a big establishment or properties like your flats, for instance? And therefore, that gave birth to us really doing more research as to how is it that we can now take this very, very good technology. Because, I mean, that's why we say AirFlush, you flush with air because air is free. Unlike water that you must transport either from Lesotho to Gauteng, which will cost you a lot of money. Air, you can just take it, compress it, and use it for flushing. So that's the whole concept of AirFlush, ideally.
You know why I'm interested in the mess?
Yeah.
Because I want this mess.
Very good.
I am telling you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just thinking aloud now. If I can get hold of this mess and turn it into a manure and sell it back to you
Absolutely.
for your back garden, I'll be very rich.
Very extremely rich. Just to give you an example, in the estate that I live in, a young man came and he said, I'm selling a manure made out of human waste.
Yeah.
And I said to him, really? And he sold me a bakkie full of this manure. I applied it in my garden. My garden was green, whether it is summer, whether it was winter, for 2 years. I never had to apply any manure in my garden from the human waste.
That's the reason why I said, your AirFlush, let's talk business now. I want this.
We can have partnerships
this
there.
mess and turn it into a manure.
Absolutely. I think,
And I'll even give it a formula. Yeah, you know, I'll call it, there's a LAN 5 2.2 3. I'll give it my own formulations. But anyway, let's talk about your AirFlush again. Let's go back to your AirFlush. Because I see we're running out of time now. We haven't even gone for a break.
Very interesting, topic.
It uses air and sometimes half a liter of water. Am I correct?
That's right. So a normal toilet that which is a vacuum toilet you'll find has got a number of control systems. One is that when you flush, it must open the valve, and you cannot use it for the 5 seconds or 8 seconds like this. And of course, then it allows air, which is vacuum, to transport, for instance, your waste into what you call a waste tank. You ask a question, where does it go? It goes into a waste tank, which is about 1,000 liter, 5,000 liter. A big property, for instance, will have 5,000 liter, which is a hotel or, 20-story building, for instance. It depends. We can design different tanks depending on the customer requirements. But it goes into a waste tank. So this vacuum toilet ideally will then keep the waste there. At the end of the day, you'll then have a tanker, or they call it a honeysucker. You come and suck that waste and go and dispose it. In your case, for instance, you would be happy to receive that waste. In other areas, for instance, the customer will want to, again, offload it into the waste line. But ideally, the essence of AirFlush is that you will save about 70% of your water consumption. If you look at any water or any property, for instance, 70% of your water goes down the drain into your toilet. But what is important about that is that, I mean, you look at Cape Town, for instance, with day zero, where the drought is so intense that there's no water, and you are wasting about 70%. So we'll turn that around and say, maybe you only need about 5% now, only for the toilet, and the rest you can use it either for gardening, for cooking, and so forth and so forth. So it's really a revolutionary technology of the future. Bill Gates once made a statement, the best invention ever is the toilet.
Everyone needs it.
Because everybody needs it.
Yeah.
So I'll talk later about regulations where Bill Gates and Melinda Gates is also involved in assisting establishing or creating regulations for it's still a new industry, so they're involved also in that. So yeah, it's a very exciting times for us. Yeah.
Now, briefly, we're out of time now.
Thank you.
Just briefly, do you perhaps have a mentorship program where you help some other people like yourself? You say, I mean, I look at an engineer now, a successful businessman who only saw shoes at an age of 13. Are you helping some other disadvantaged people?
The answer is absolutely yes. I dedicate my time in developing either my own workers or other people, entrepreneurs who are aspiring to be into the entrepreneurship space. We support different work, orphanage home, for instance, or schools. So we are involved in quite a number of other activities. But I also want to say, mentorship is not meant for mentors only.
Yeah,
my mother is my biggest inspiration.
Yeah.
She only achieved sub B. But today, if I look back, I say my mother gave me faith in God. She also gave me hard work. She also gave me entrepreneurship. Very, very important. As parents, it is very, very much important never to underestimate yourself. What you impact on your children is what will make them to be what they will be tomorrow. I am what I am because of what my mother instilled in me.
Thembinkosi, it was great having you on Marketplace with Charles.
Thank you very much.
In few words, if one wants to get hold of you and wants to be inspired, or if one wants this AirFlush to use in their estate or wherever, how do they get hold of you?
Thank you for having me, Charles, for the opportunity again. Kingdom Power is now becoming a global company. We are now participating in Africa. From this, I'm going to a meeting for Gabonese business, for a business opportunity in India. So we are in India, just to give you an example, we are participating amongst only 14 international companies. So we are now a global brand, and which we are grateful for. We can be found in info@kingdompower.co.za. You can also find us on via phone 011-314-0087. Yeah, I'm really excited for the opportunity, and thank you again.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
You know, viewers out there, I like what Thembinkosi has said. What is it that you have in your hand? Some of you there are still waiting for a very big tender opportunity. You are waiting for money to drop down from heaven in order for you to start your business. That will never happen. What is it that you have in your hand? Start with what you have and where you are at. This is Charles Ngobeni signing off on Marketplace with Charles. I'm happy that you've been inspired today. You can get hold of me on charlesngobeni.com or Instagram, Charles_Ngobeni, or you can also go into my webpage, my Facebook page, and click like. I'll be happy to communicate with you. Well, see you next time, same channel, same place, and God bless you.